r/askreddit. What do you genuinely not understand?
This is totally due to me not looking it up, but I don't know how dry cleaning works.
The order of emails in a Gmail thread.
I used to look at the date/time of each message in a thread to orient myself, until I started working with an international team and realized Gmail sometimes puts the E sometimes puts on the message, not mine. The realization came when I was going through a chain and noticed half the messages were sent from the future.
Chemistry. I only passed because my professor curved every F to a C.
My best friend has her PhD in organic chemistry, and she gave me her dissertation in a bound book. Made the mistake of opening it once and was like, what the hell? This is all gibberish?
When you get that high of level, you have to have very specialized language that only people in your subsection really know the meaning and significance of. As a chemist, I would probably feel the same if I read it too.
Sudden motivation at midnight.
I've read that it's due to there being no pressure or thoughts of what could go wrong. This is due to the fact that the motivation is typically for things that would be in the future or carry over into the future, and there is no reason to start or finish the things being thought of at that moment.
Makes sense. I've always associated successful people with a lack of fear of failure.
Why does the word fridge have the letter D in it, while refrigerator does not?
How these dogs that have these dense bangs hanging over their eyes can see a single goddamn thing.
They can't see much with them, but dogs rely much more on hearing and smell, so it shouldn't be a huge deal to them, but I bet they would prefer being able to see. Although I think a lot of the grooming styles where the eyes are covered are mostly for show dogs, and when they are not being shown have a little top knot.
That no concept of an absolute position in space exists.
Oh, for fuck's sake. My day was going so well. Thanks for that.
If it helps, we have lots of guideposts. Pulsars spin very consistently, and we have documented and mapped out a lot of them. We can use these as place markers to orient ourselves if we ever become a galaxy. Faring species. Big eye there.
Bitcoin mining. Solving algorithms? What? Who? Why?
Generating endless random numbers, combining them with the result of an arbitrary mathematical operation with a small amount of data from a previous block in the chain, and ignoring all results other than the one that matches a very specific, very difficult but entirely arbitrary rule, lading, number of zeros in the result for Botra, as in Wizeroxero. 12,345. All this work to make it impractical, the same way cracking passwords is for any one person to commit fraud on the network even without a central authority, because the cost is prohibitively high.
But like what problem are they solving? What do they achieve by adding a bunch of numbers?
Space. It makes my brain hurt trying to figure out things like stars and black holes, etc.
The sizes and distances of it all is absolutely mind-boggling. It's so massive and far that it has to be measured in the amount of distance that light can travel in a year, and light travels 186,000 miles per second. I feel so insignificant just thinking about it, but it can also be kind of comforting in a way, because that means that all my problems are also insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
Why do people who seem miserable as parents decide to have more kids?
It's the puppy principle. They want something to love, something that loves them, but once the potty training and the cost and the medical stuff comes up, it's all just a in-the-moment decision.
How light is both a particle and a wave.
Do you know how fast you were going? Heisenberg, Schrodinger, and Ohm are in a car and they get pulled over. Heisenberg is driving and the cop asks him, "Do you know how fast you were going?" "No, but I know exactly where I am," Heisenberg replies. The cop says you were doing 55 in a 35. Heisenberg throws up his hands and shouts, "Great! Now I'm lost." The cop thinks this is suspicious and orders him to pop open the trunk. He checks it out and says, "Do you know you have a dead cat back here?" "We do, now, asshole," shouts Schrodinger. The cop moves to arrest them. Ohm resists. "Not my joke, but thought you would enjoy it."
I really do not get how a needle in a record player bouncing back and forth can create such rich sound.
I just can't even imagine how rubbing a needle against vinyl can create a perfect replication of a sound. I get that it can make sound like a rubbing noise, but to replicate a human voice, what is happening there?
A simple, and not entirely accurate, but understandable, description is just that sound is a wave, in the physics sense. When creating a record, The needle is vibrated in a manner so it exactly captures the shape of the wave the sound is making, and it etches it into the record. When you play back the record, it uses that vibration to recreate the wave, and thus it recreates the sound. The record does of course make a very quiet scratching/rubbing sound, but it's the tiny movement of the needle that actually tells the record player exactly what sound to make.
The YouTube algorithm.
How electricity works. Amps, volts, watts, etc.
Amps. How many electrons flow. Volts. The force with which the generator is pushing these electrons. Watts. The amount of energy carried every second. This, of course, depends on the amount of electrons, so the amps and the force they are pushed, so the amps, and the force they are pushed, so the volts. Watts. If watts is the speed of energy transfer, this is the distance. That is the total amount of energy you transfer. Which means that if you have 200 watts of energy available, and something consumes 100 watts, you can only power it for 2 hours. If it consumes 50 watts, you can power it for 4 hours. Other ones.
I'm highly entertained that Jared Sparks is getting electricity fundamentals from Giant Electron.
My intentions when doing things. It seems that I can attribute everything I do to manipulation and attention-seeking, and it's kinda unsettling.
Those people who do parkour on high-butt buildings. One mistake and you're dead.
Well, they get a buzz out of that feeling of risk, and so they keep doing it to keep replicating that buzz. If it were safe, they wouldn't do it because there would be no excitement.
I think a better question is how they don't die more frequently.
People that treat everybody around them terribly then complain that nobody likes them.
People that proudly say, yeah, I'm an asshole.
Had an acquaintance that proudly and giddily said, I'm toxic. I left fast. Quantum physics. But mostly how there could ever be a smallest thing. Like everything is made up of something else. Zooming down, how could there be something that's not made up of smaller parts? Like string theory writes, smallest thing is supposed to be vibrating strings of energy. Like what is that energy made of? I don't get it.
How I get taller and more handsome every time my grandma sees me.
My nanny just tells me I've gained weight and grabs my belly and laughs, but jokes on her she's got dementia and will forget soon enough.
The stock market.
My understanding of it is it works because everyone says it does.
All money works that way.
Why the hiring process at most companies is so damn slow. Back in the 60s, you could walk into a business asking about a job on Friday and start work the following Monday. Now, despite having access to tons of information about a candidate on the internet, it takes 6 or more weeks in many cases.
How some people seem to get through life without a job, with no responsibility, no money, and they're totally fine. Meanwhile, I'm busting my butt, trying to make a living for myself and my family, and struggling like hell.
This right here. I have a buddy exactly like this. He's super charismatic and just has connections that hook him up with all sorts of fun stuff. He actually wasn't that great of a friend because he would always blow everyone off because something better came along.
I know some people like this, and I really do not think they enjoy life as much as you'd think. I believe they are easily bored and seek out stimulation because they feel lost without it.
After waiting in a long line to check out, why is it that people don't have their money ready? They get to the register and have to search for a crime.
Yes, oh my God. They look at the cashier annoyed when there's a long line, and when they get to the end, they take 5 minutes looking for their method of payment. Like bitch, what have you been doing in line?
How people get up in the morning feeling good and refreshed. I have woken up tired since before I can remember. I don't understand if they just mentally power through the tired, or if they feel something I don't/can't.
Same. No matter how much sleep I get, the first 30 minutes after waking up suck. If you get enough sleep, eat right, exercise, and stay hydrated, you can still feel energized all day despite how you feel when you wake up. I'm just not a morning person, and that's okay.